All right, let's talk about Drew and Ralph Sidora, or Ralph and Drew Sidora. She's an actress. She used to be an actress. She's now a reality TV star on Housewives of Atlanta, the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And there's a story that broke out just a few hours before I started the show. It's a divorce story. So I figure we should just get into it because, listen, man, some of the best lessons will come from this broken down marriages, sadly. Okay. So let's look at the story. I'm also gonna play a very interesting video of them. Okay, I'm also gonna play a very interesting video of them having a conversation during something that was supposed to be a romantic dinner, and then the whole thing end up in the poto. But anyway, let me first of all read this. This is the news today. It says Sidora and Pittman. Okay, let me go to the beginning. It says Real Housewives of Atlanta star Drew Sidora's husband Ralph Pittman files for divorce after nearly 9 years of marriage. 9 years is that mark. 9 years is that place where at least one side is looking at things and saying, is this worth it? I have the rest of my life. And the other person is completely oblivious. And they're like, no, we're just going to keep fighting. And after all, that's what you do in marriage. After all, marriage is hard. This is why I push back against the rhetoric that marriage is hard. I know what people mean when they say that, but I want people to be careful when they say that. Marriage is not supposed to be hard. Okay? Marriage is not supposed to be hard. But anything that's worthwhile in life will test you. If that's what you mean, then you're correct. Okay? Everything that's worthwhile in life does not come easy. That's why everyone don't have access to what is worthwhile. So if you think marriage is worthwhile, a good marriage, a happy life with a person that you love to death, and you guys are doing life together, if you think that's worth something, you should also understand that there's going to be pushback from, what do you want to call it, the enemy? You want to call it there's going to be pushback from you can call it the enemy, you can call it the devil, you can call it yourself, right? There's gonna be pushback. It's gonna be tough. It's like diamond, right? You have to take anything that's worthwhile in life will have to go through some type of pressure that almost want to destroy it. All right, will actually probably destroy it all the way to the foundation, and then you have to build a brand new foundation. Hopefully you're lucky enough to be with the same person. I happen to be lucky. We had to build a brand new foundation, but I just happen to be lucky that it's with the same person. Okay. A lot of times it's with another person. You call that divorce, right? But hopefully you've learned your lesson, and before you build something with another person, you've actually taken the time to heal, okay? And understand that pointy fingers doesn't help. Okay. Anyway, so he's filed divorce 9 years after of marriage. Unfortunately, we have made difficult decision to move on now. And I quote, unfortunately, we have made a difficult decision to move on to our next chapters. Pittman shared exclusively with people after filing to divorce Sidora. That's the husband, Ralph. He filed to divorce Drew, the girl, okay, whom he married in August 2014. The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Drew Sidora and Ralph Pittman, are officially ending their marriage. People can exclusively confirm. That's People magazine, right? Shout out to People. I'm on people.com right now. And I quote, "Love is a beautiful thing," Pittman 37 said in an exclusive statement to People. Unfortunately, we have made the difficult decision to move on to our next chapters. Independent of each other, Drew and I have decided to file for divorce. We have 3 amazing young children, and their mindset and growth is what is most important. As we navigate these difficult times, I ask that you please respect our privacy. That's a very nicely well put together public relations statement. This is not how they feel right now. Don't get it twisted, okay? This is not how they feel right now. But this is a very nice PR statement to put out. Okay, it makes sense. According to documents obtained by People, Pittman's petition for divorce was received on Monday. People also obtained documents that confirm Sidora 37 lodged a lodged her own divorce petition an hour before Pittman. Wait, she lodged her own divorce petition just an hour. So there was probably some kind of heated argument. I'm going to go file a divorce. I'm going to go, okay, we're going to go today. Or it could be a situation where they've been fighting for so long, they're too tired. And like, yeah, we should just go ahead and do it today. I don't see the future. It could be any one of those things. More likely, an argument, okay? Pittman listed the couple's separation date as February 19. Today is what? Okay, that's some 2 weeks ago or so. Maybe a week ago. While the Game actress, she used to be on The Game. That's where I remember her from, the sitcom show. While the Game actress claims they have been separated since last Thursday, February 23. Okay, so it's been a few days since they've been separated, right? Something terrible must have happened. They're not revealing. Though documents from Pittman request joint legal and physical custody of their children. Wait. Pittman is requesting joint legal and physical custody of their children. Sidora's petition knows that there is no chance or hope of reconciliation between the spouses. So she's saying there's no chances of reconciling. Okay, that's all right there. Sidora and Pittman married in August 2014. They later welcomed son Makai in June 2015 and daughter Anaya in February 2018. The That's So Raven alum, so she was in That's So Raven too. Interesting. Alum also has an 11-year-old son, Josiah, from a previous relationship. Okay. There was also a lot of drama around this son with the father. She wanted him to forcefully adopt this baby, even though the father is still present. All that kind of stuff, man. Many of the couple's marital woes leading up to their divorce were chronicled on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Last year, Sidora discovered a suspicious text message between her husband and his female assistant, who was later fired. Finding out my husband was getting, and I quote, finding out my husband was getting close with his assistant was really hard for me, she said on the show. I packed up my kids and we went to Chicago. I literally ran away from home. Right? Sidora also said she wanted Pittman to respect the relationship. That's her. Ain't she lovely? That's going to be somebody else's now. Or he's going to be somebody else's. Whichever one, right? All right. So, Real Housewives of Atlanta castmates also took with Kenya Moore, calling Pittman so disrespectful as he faced accusations of gaslighting his wife. Me self, I'm gaslit. You're basically saying that she's lying and how it happened was not how it happened. Well, you weren't there, Kenya, but people have different, I've been saying that here, people can have different experiences in the same event, especially when it's purely emotional. You said this, I said that, you made me feel this way, I made you feel that way. If that's all we're talking about, people can absolutely have two different experiences, and to each other they feel like one seems like the other person is lying. Unless somebody was physically touched in that way, you're going to have to look at the evidences, the physical evidences, right? Moore, a 52-year-old, that's Kenya Moore, told Pittman in a 2022 episode, that will piss me the F off. If somebody said to me to my face, especially if I'm hurting, okay, they're talking about the text messages, right? You didn't see what you saw. You saw what you saw. So text message is a different thing, especially if there's screenshots, physical evidence, right? Do you not understand that? Again, that's them. Despite the challenges, Sidora told BET last June that the pair planned to continue fighting for their marriage. Fighting for the marriage is not... Yeah, that's something that scares the shit out of me, okay? If you have to fight for your marriage over an extended period of time, it's probably not working, right? Instead, I prefer, if that, again, semantics, right? Granted. But if that means you break everything down to the bone, down to the foundation, and you rebuild back up on a clean slate, then yes. Fighting for your marriage, that one a struggle love. I'm just warning you right now. No, we keep fighting for it. Oh no, marriage is a fight. Marriage is hard. If you keep saying things like that to yourself, don't be surprised if you end up attracting that reality. For me, it's been 15 years. Marriage is not a fight. It's not do or die. It's not hard. Okay, we've had moments that it felt like it was hard. But the idea that it's just hard and it's just a hard thing, you're just always pulling teeth, you're just always fighting this devil. Like, nah, bro, that's not sustainable. At least not for me, okay? Like I speak for myself. I thought it was, let me make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Speaking of speaking to myself, okay. Let's just make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Okay, awesome. Okay. All right. All right. So despite their challenges to do, okay, they plan to fight for their marriage. I thought it was like Cinderella, like a happily ever after. And I quote, she's saying, I thought it was like Cinderella, like a happily ever after. And so we thought that's what it was going to be, she said. My parents, who have been married for like 60 years, made it look so easy. They made it look so easy. I'm in a situation where we have children, we are moving to a new city, life is happening, and people are growing as well as changing. She continued, it's hard because sometimes you're like, do I need to stay in this marriage or am I better off by myself? Then I think to myself, when two people commit and you keep committing to each other, what can we do to fix this? You're switching counselors to find the right one, but see, why would anybody be switching counselors? Okay, just think about that. Why would you need to switch counselors? I get it. Sometimes you can relate with how certain counselors talk or how they relate with you. I get it. But oftentimes it's because you're thinking the counselor is going to do the fixing for you. And no one else is going to do that work except you. They can help you. They're a support system. They can help you. They can be a great support system. Support systems are better from counselors to counselor, from coach to coach, from therapy to therapy. Yes, they can be better than each other. But ultimately, you're going to have to do the work. That's the reality. Okay? Ultimately, you're going to have to do the work. Does that make sense? Let's see. But we're committed, and I think that's what keeps people together. Sidora, commitment. So this is one thing that people say to each other. There's a lot of talking points that people think what keep people together. The only thing, in my opinion, listen, you can disagree with me. Feel free to disagree with me, okay? What keeps people together is friendship, okay? Friendship. Commitment, oftentimes, commitment is also extremely helpful, by the way, might I say. However, oftentimes one person is feeling more committed than the other person. In that moment, what do you have left? When you are feeling you are the only one that's committed to it, the other person is not feeling committed. What else do you have in those moments? Because in that moment, if you feel like the other person, if it's really that simple, if you feel, yes, feelings that the other person is not as committed, naturally you want to exit. What's the point of staying in a marriage with the person that's not committed, right? But for some of us, something keeps us going. A few extra seconds, a few extra minutes before we get captured by the commitment idea again and everything else that it comes with. Maybe a good old kerewa, right? But again, just some things to pay attention to. There's no right and wrong here, just some things to pay attention to, right? Sidora also noted that it's not that it's perfect because I'm not perfect and God knows he's not perfect. It should be. Now, this kind of that statement is problematic already by default. Now, she could be responding to the experiences she's had, right? It should be, that statement, I would flip it and say because he's not perfect and God knows I'm not perfect, right? What will make you flip that? Why would that little thing matter, right? Because this is where love operates. When you don't feel like it, but you're like, no, love. If commitment was really playing a role, you will actively engage giving. Not give and take. Giving, right? But maybe she's not really thinking about it that way. But again, these little things, they add up. They add up, okay? But they keep doing the work nonetheless, okay? All right, so now that's the statement. So there's this video that I found. I'm going to react to it, right? But I'm gonna have to. You're not gonna see them, okay? You may see them for a few seconds, and now you just hear their voice, and I'll react to what they're saying in about 6 minutes, and then we'll round up for the day. But before we get into that, let me see what you all are talking about before I lose my job. If I lose my job here. Let's see. Eunice say, oh my god, Raf's story never used to add up. He was definitely cheating on Drew. It says 5, 7, and 9 are usually breaking points for many. Yes. I've heard that over and over again too. Hit that like button, I beg. Thank you so much. Brand new to food. From those facts, she commenced the divorce application. Yes. Right? But I think he filed first, but they decided and there's a breakdown and she's saying it's irreconcilable and it might stem all the way back to the cheating. People say, can cheating break a marriage? I don't think so. I think the wrong response to infidelity will definitely break a marriage. Okay? Somebody say no, it's definitely somebody's listening right now in the background, or maybe later on replay. Like, no, it's a deal breaker for me. Listen, it's how people respond to it that makes it a deal breaker or not. Okay? That's the reality. Okay? When you are in a marriage that you committed to, it's not that easy to just exit because something just happened that completely knocked you out of your core. The last thing you're doing is, you're trying to wake up from that dream. That's usually what's going on. Okay. But how people respond to it can definitely determine the direction of things, and I think he's done a terrible job at responding to a lot of his atrocities. Listen, she's gonna be dragged in this street of the manosphere. He's gonna be dragged in the feminist world, right? A lot of people that don't know what they're talking about are gonna be talking about this. I want you to listen to me carefully, okay? There's no perfect human beings. Just because of that, there's no perfect marriage. However, repeating the talking point to yourself that marriage is hard, you might just end up attracting that, okay? That's not sustainable. Just want to be careful with that. That's all. So, but men can be useless, Sha. How can you have such a beautiful wife and be thinking of your assistant? When they say men are scum, some people have a point when they say that. I don't think you should say that to yourself because you might end up attracting a scum. Okay, just so you know. But anyway, Kenya Moore needs to mind our own business. That's exactly how I felt about that, Agbaya. But anyway, I'm gonna play a little bit of this and then I'll start responding. Then you start hearing the audio. Okay.
Roses, there's a lot of roses.
Let me not play that music. Okay. All right.
What?
That's her.
You look really good.
So this was now let's be honest, okay? I'm stopping it now because I just want you to see their face. He's welcoming her into this dating place on a rooftop somewhere, right? And I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play the audio and then I'm gonna react and pause and stuff like that. But that's how she looks beautiful. But let's be honest, this was filmed. When they notice that there are cameras around, they also tend to put on filters. The fact that they couldn't compose and keep themselves together during this filming tells us that it's even deeper than you think. The issues that they have is deeper than you think. It's not the infidelity, it's how he responded to the infidelity, and it's also partly her abilities to maintain, to engage her power as the feminine person, the person carrying the feminine energy in the relationship. But it's hard when you find yourself in a situation where you feel the need to protect yourself. The last thing that person is going to be is feminine, precisely masculine, because they need to protect themselves from the evils of this world. But let me play.
So this is my tailor showroom, actually.
Oh, okay. We are here. This is the place that you come who does.
All right, so you're just gonna listen, okay?
I understand why, but I'm here. What?
I will show it every now and then.
Ooh, oh my God.
When I proposed to Drew, she felt like a queen.
Thank you, baby. This is so romantic.
She felt like a queen.
Give her that same environment on the rooftop. And my boys shop to make sure that my wife knows that no
all right,
woman
so
can
all of this
close
lasted for about a minute.
This is really amazing. Like, how many dozens of roses? This is a lot of roses. Like, why? Where's all this coming from?
Let's be fair, it was probably longer than that because again, they were filming. So they cut, edit, chop, 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 right? But it doesn't change what we're about to learn today.
Sometimes I can be an asshole. I get it. But the thing about it is, you know, I love you. And I want to be the best husband, the best father, the best provider.
This right here, this is what I live for. Because you do go out of your way to make me feel like the most important thing in the world. So I love you. I just want to make sure that we don't have these really, really high highs and we go through those lows. And
High
really,
highs.
deal with our problems on a deeper level so that we can be healthy for each other.
I agree. And I think that's one thing that Dr. Cant taught me was you can't have these extreme expectations of somebody else. You need to first start with yourself. So
did say that.
my new order now is...
All right, so now they are seemingly agreeing with each other. One of the issues with relationships and marriages in general is people are not actively listening to each other. Listen, it's hard to do. It's easier said than done. At the back of your mind, while you're trying to practice what Allah said, which is active listening, you have your own point of contention. You have things you want to say, and your mind is constantly processing those things, right? And you have the things you want to say, you know. So, and the mind can only focus on so many things at the same time. You can't be actively listening to a person and then be processing what you're going to say back to them at the same time. This is where communication starts to break down. Let's keep listening.
God,
Okay.
me.
Listen to what he just
God,
said.
Okay.
me. You need to first start with yourself. So
did say that.
my new order now is God,
Okay.
me. And then my wife, my kids.
All right, so he said, my new order of things right now is God, me, my wife, my kids, right? And the last thing you want to do is be on a date with your wife and be having these hard conversations. What do I mean by that? Okay, let me explain. Let me break this down for you, okay? Having these hard conversations, well, imagine the feel that she had when she walked into that scenery. The roses, the wine, the champagne on the table, rooftop, right? And then you bring in something that will remind her of pain, right? No, that wasn't your intentions. I get it. Remember, I keep telling you all the time, your good intentions end up in the potter all the time, right? That wasn't your intentions. That's not what you meant to do, but effectively, that's what you did, right? So you now start to have this hard conversation. Now, how does that play out? I wanted to say how that plays out. You don't go there and say, babe, let's not talk about that right now, right? You need to give, when it comes to expectations, okay? Because he just mentioned expectations. Expectations are absolutely unrealistic. Expectations are destroying. Unmanaged expectations are destroying relationships left and right, everywhere you go, okay? Unmanaged expectations, right? So you need to manage your expectations and give your partner the freedom to express their expectations. That's how you create, at least temporarily, that's how you create unity. That's how you get on the same page. You manage your own expectations. You give your partner the freedom to express their expectations without feeling the need to respond in the moment, without feeling the need to tackle every point in the moment. But they decided that they wanted to play this game that a lot of couples play in this very, very moment. And how many of this type of scenarios do you think have played out in the past few years, right? Defensive, no, it didn't happen, all that kind of stuff. Especially when you took out on a date, the only thing you should be actively doing is that if she wants to make a point of contact, you're like, babe, I hear you. Yeah, I'm listening, right? Listen, that's not fair, right? You're not going to feel like that's fair. I should be able to say something too, right? Well, you're not trying to play the fairness game. You're trying to engage your power, right? You're trying to engage your power. How do you engage your power? You try to let the other person feel heard, especially if you're the man in the equation, okay? So you might be on a date with your spouse and you're like, but we should have these hard conversations. Like, no. You can but you need to make sure that the vibe is right for that, right? Okay. It's easier said than done, I get it. But that's what needs to happen, especially if there's been damages, things like somebody caught somebody with text messages and all that kind of stuff. Especially if you have those kind of things, it's gonna, just think about building a home, right? It takes a lot more to build a home than you can destroy it in like 1 minute, crushed. But to build it, you have to take your time, because you also want to make sure it's sitting on the right foundation. All right. So let's continue to see how this played out.
And everyone else. Because I think for men, a lot of the times we're kind of taught and trained it is God, your wife, your family, then you come last. You know.
So you think
He's wrong about that. He's basically he's been watching manosphere type of talking points. That's what that is. When a man is going through a relationship failure, and he goes on Google and he starts searching for stuff, he will stumble into this kind of communities, and they will start repeating talking points to themselves. And the problem, there's nothing wrong with what he said. The problem is that there's a disconnect between what you're saying and reality, right? In this moment, is he putting his wife first? The reality is that that's not the reality. He's just saying it, right? So what did he say? He said it's going to be God, me, right? My wife and children. How does that play out in reality? All right. In a way that gives you the best result, of course. We're not just doing it just because of doing the same, because that doesn't work. You need to make sure that this connects with the kind of result you're looking for, right? How does this play out in real life? The way it plays out is that you actually play it. You're occupying that role. God, and there's a role next to God. That means you protect everything underneath. That means you're held more accountable for everything that happens to everything under it. That's what that means. To whom much is given, much is expected, right? This is not a bad thing, right? But it becomes bad if you're just using it to manipulate another person, okay? So self first. He says something first. He said it's self first, and then he misconstrued it all together with God first. Then me first. That's not designed to be me. It actually means you become a servant leadership, meaning you're ready to die for everything under that. Just like God would die for the rest of us. If you're going to use that, you need to use it properly, right? Let me play it again.
We're kind of taught and trained it is God, your wife, your family, then you come last. You know.
So you think you
Wait.
Start with yourself was you can't have these extreme expectations of somebody else. You need to first start with yourself. So
He did say that.
So he said you can't have these extreme expectations of someone else, but he's actually trying to say to her that the wife cannot have extreme expectations of me. Remember what I just said. You want to give your partner, if you're a woman, the same thing, okay? You want to give your partner the freedom to express their expectation. You're seducing them effectively, okay? You want to give them the freedom to express their expectations. It doesn't mean you have to fulfill them. That's not what that means. They just need to say it a lot of times. They just need to feel heard a lot of times, okay? And then you want to manage your own expectations, meaning I have expectations. I'm human too. That's facts of life. I'm human too. I have expectations. But, you know, I got to pay attention to when I decide to express that, make sure it's being received properly, make sure that the message actually lands the way I want it to land, in the way that actually create the result I'm looking for. These are your responsibilities, especially if you are the man in the equation. Mosorigon, that's what comes with the position of leadership. Okay, let's keep going.
my new order now is God,
Okay.
me, and then my wife, my kids, and everyone else. Because I think
He said, God, me, my kid, my wife, everyone else. He was trying to say, I got to take care of self first. In a lot of respect, you have to do that, but that doesn't mean something you have to say out, okay? It means you got to make sure you're good, because if you're not good, you can't take care of other people, right? But what does that mean to be good, right? Does that mean that the other person must agree to that in this moment in time? Listen, they don't have a choice but to agree when you demonstrate it. Did you realize that if you demonstrate, you actually leave that person? They don't decide to respect you. they mimic your level of self-respect because that's the natural order of, that's just how it works. I don't know how else to explain that. That's just how it works.
For men, a lot of the times we're kind of taught and trained it is God, your wife, your family.
He said men are kind of taught that God, your wife,
then you come last.
your family, then you come last. No, men are not trained that way. That's not true. Men are not trained that way. Now, here's the caveat to that. A lot of people will say, maybe in our culture, in your culture, it's a little bit different. No, it's not. Okay, men are not trained that way. For the rest of us, including women, sometimes you give so much you forget to give to self. That is true. Okay, but guess whose responsibility that is? Yourself. You don't get to say to the other person to try to manipulate them, because when you say to them, now you're trying to make them say, wait, but you haven't really given to me like that. Especially if you're dealing with a woman. Oh, Beauty. When you deal with a woman and you now go saying to her that, I have to take care of self first, and you're talking to her and she can remember that you're being, and experiences that you're selfish, experiences that she caught a text message, and you still haven't really admitted to the truth of that, and she's remembering all those things, you're not going to create good results. And you have to hold yourself accountable for that. Let's keep going.
So you think you had it in that order before?
I definitely had it because I was a pleaser. I can't do that anymore.
She said, I had it in that order. I was a pleaser. I can't do that anymore. Is there truth to what he's saying? I believe there's some truth to it. However, there's too much talking going on. Right? She doesn't need to agree to this. You don't need to make her agree to this. You just have to demonstrate it. There's too many men talking too much. Listen, there's a fine line between talking too much. Men need to be heard too. A lot of men are suffering. There's a fine line. We live in a society that operates off of a certain social construct. Part of the skills you're required of is social skills. If you're operating from a place of social skills, then you're not really suppressing. You're just understanding your surroundings, right? And you're moving accordingly. It doesn't mean she can't help you. It doesn't mean she can't learn how to listen to you. It just means by the time you decide to talk, she's even in a place where she's even more open to receive what you have to say, right? We're talking about your wife now, okay? We're not talking about random strangers on Instagram, that girl that's arguing with you on a panel. That's not what I'm talking about.
I feel like for me, I would just, not vocalize how I felt in the sake of keeping peace. And I stopped saying how I felt.
So now she's competing. She's saying, a lot of women do that, for real. She's competing. She's now, well, for me, a lot of time I want to say how I feel, but I can't say how I feel because I don't want to offend you. Is that not real? Is that not real?
Because I was afraid that wrath,
Now it's a competition. She said she was afraid of that wrath. And then she get a chuckle, a little smile there, right? Oh, you see these cameras, you're going to throw me under the bus, right? Let's see what happens next.
Wrath is so serious.
I apologize if I ever made you feel like you need to suppress your voice.
And even now, I'm like feeling myself.
That was cute, right? He apologizes if you ever feel the need, right? Right? He apologizes, right? If I ever made you feel the need to not express yourself. That's cute, right? Let's see how well he does.
So walking on eggshells because I'm like, I don't want to ruin the night.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hey,
How are you guys?
Good.
Salmon bite, crab rangoon.
Ooh, okay.
We have a lobster tail with fresh snap green beans.
Oh, this looks phenomenal.
Bon appetit, guys. I'll bring
About deflation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank
Enjoy.
you. I love it.
All right. Let's see how the rest of it panned out.
I would prefer to probably use this night as an opportunity just to enjoy each other's company, and we can leave everything else for marriage counseling.
All right, so let's leave. He said he would prefer to use this night to just enjoy each other, right? That right there is, if you do enough of that, you will continue to create more and more problem for yourself as a man, especially, or as whoever is leading the relationship. You could be a woman if you want to lead the relationship, sure. Just understand that for a typical person, it's not sustainable, okay? As a man, right, you're trying to lead the relationship, you need to demonstrate that. Meaning, if she's still talking about that pain and stuff like that, you need to be okay with her expressing that. Like, yeah, we went through this, the wrath. Listen, this is going to be a hit. Like, somebody's like throwing you under the bus, somebody's testing you, you feel the need to overreact, right? But you being able to control that and say, yeah, I hear that. I know. You enjoy your food. You like the food? Like deflecting small in a very nice way because you are intentional. You're like, no, that ass is mine tonight. We're not going to talk about all that painful shit, right? Make some banters out of some jokes out of it, because if you're too serious, it's hard to suppress, quote unquote, how you're feeling. It's not suppressing, in my opinion. It's just engaging your power. But you're able to say, you like the food? All right, good. But you're still human. It's happening, but you're demonstrating emotional self-control. You allow her to express. She will get tired of it. She will get tired. But for every time you interrupt, you go back to ground zero. You have to start. You have to express it again because she doesn't feel heard, right? Why can't I just be the one to feel heard too? Again, you can switch roles. Who do you want to lead in this situation? She can start leading. Let's see. Can you count on her to lead your relationship? If you can, sure. Get in your feelings and express yourself too. And let's see how that works out. Let's see how it worked out for them.
Okay. So you don't feel like we should be able to like communicate?
I set this up with no expectations. If you value this,
I set
it's
this up
fantastic.
with
You
no
know,
expectation. If you set things up with no expectation, you wouldn't say it out in words. Okay? You wouldn't feel the need to shut her down when she's trying to say something right now, even though whatever she's about to say is painful. Why is it painful? Because there's some truth to it, right? She already mentioned the wrath, right? She's making a face over here right now, okay? Listen, there's no one event that goes to end up in divorce, okay? It's a series of events, but we can assume that this happened over and over again, right? It's fair. It's fair to make that assumption, right? But these are the examples of the picture you want to see over and over again. You end up in divorce court, right? This guy is not a bad guy. You think he's a bad guy? I believe him honestly when he said I was being that guy. Like I put everybody for. I believe him. It's just again he still doesn't have the game. He felt the need to get the wife to agree to that. I've been through that before, okay? Where you feel like she must agree to that. No, she doesn't have to agree to that. Especially when it's emotional manipulation. She doesn't have to agree to that. She just needs to feel good about your situation. Just like you need to feel good too. But I want you to start feeling good about re-engaging your power in the relationship, right? How would you feel if you're able to influence the direction that you want things to go, especially mid to long term? In the short term is always going to deceive you. You feel the need to express, you get caught up in your emotions, and before you know, you're back to ground zero again. You have to start doing the work all over. You have to start building all over again. Because remember, it's easy to destroy with one. Just look at our face right now. Their conversation sound like a date. It sounds like we need to talk. Thank you. It doesn't sound like a date. You mean? Yeah, it doesn't sound. You're right. It's correct. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like we need to talk. If I put all of this together, I'm getting some that night. Unless I just want you to rest. But listen, okay? And if I'm in a space where I feel like we need to talk, then the talking needs to happen first before I'm taking you out on the romantic dinner date and all. We might go out and grab a drink and we just talk. I do that too, but it's not going to be roses all over the place, okay? It's pointless. It's like the same thing as apologies. Useless apologies that people tend to offer when the person you're offering the apology to is not ready for it. Let's keep going.
Fantastic, you know.
I value it. You have made me feel special. This shows me like we can make it.
This shows you?
Give me your hand. Maybe I need to hold your hand when I say this.
No, just talk.
She said,
Where's the wine? Please.
maybe I need to hold your hands when I say this. And then he got a little bit angry. They said, no, just talk.
Just talk.
No, just talk. He got caught up in his feelings. If you know you're going to get caught up in your feelings, don't take people out on a date. I don't care if it's your wife. wait a little bit longer. Let's whatever issues is going on, let it calm down a little bit. All right. Don't try to use dates and apologies to brush issues under the rug. Work. Women, don't forget.
Oh, beauty.
Work. It won't work. You need to be strong enough, a man, to sit in that funk a little bit longer. I know you're quick. You want, like you said, he's a fixer. You want to fix this now. Let me take on the day so we can forget about all these issues. After all, I took you out on the date the other day. And then you start to say things like that, and then she will call you on Sirigun. And then you will blame yourself like, damn, I can never get it right. Yeah, it's called game, right? Sit in the funk. Go and shower. Take a hot shower. Take a walk. Go to the library. Start brushing up on that certification you're looking forward to do, right? Trust me, everyone is not going to follow out the skies. Trust me, right? By the time you get back to her, you say, hey, babe, what's on your mind? Practice listening actively first before you try taking people out on a date where they will go and mess with your self-esteem and then you start to overreact. Don't touch me. Watch the rest of it.
Where's the wine? I need some wine, please.
She says she needs some wine, please.
Oh, right on time, honey.
Some wine, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She's actively getting caught up in her own feelings too.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna schedule a session for you to go and speak to Dr. Ken on like how to speak to men appropriately to get whatever you're trying to do across effectively.
Yes, and
Did you hear what he just said? I'm gonna schedule a time for you to go and speak to doctor, blah, 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 so that you can learn how to speak to a man properly. You can't be your own wife's therapist. Go lay work. I don't care how many books you've read. I don't care how many videos of the coach you've watched. Don't try to be your wife's therapist. It's not gonna work. That's condescending as shit. Could it work? Could it work? I promise her. She would detect it. I used to be that guy. That's how I know. Right?
Schedule a session for you to go and speak to Dr. Ken on like how to speak to men appropriately to get
how to speak to men appropriately. She's like,
How did you be that?
yeah, it's not gonna work. It's not going to work. All right. Well, we know it didn't work because this was a time that she's contemplating on leaving the marriage. She called it, we're fighting. You know, marriage is hard. My parents made it seem so easy. Well, it makes sense now. If they do enough of this, it makes sense that our parents, 60 years, probably our parents went through their own phase too, right? Every marriage will go through it. Every marriage. Okay. Don't let anybody deceive you. Vetting is not going to make you avoid this, okay? You go through this test. Okay, man or woman, okay? But anyway.
whatever you're trying to do across effectively.
yes, and then I will pay for you to have a session too.
Yeah, because it becomes a competition. She said, well, I would pay for you to have a session too. Gentlemen, don't play that equality game with your wife, okay? I'm not talking about you saying it. Remember, he said the right thing earlier. God, me. He said the right thing, but he's basically playing the victim. It's basically God, the wife. He's playing God and he's playing the wife being the leader. She should be able to speak to me in a certain way. Never mind that she's caught up in her emotions. Never mind that I initially said I'm supposed to be the leader, right? So in this moment, if this was your employee, what would you do? If this was your employee, all right? Now, this is a very tricky analogy because I actually discourage people from using this analogy all the time. Imagine if you were the boss, right? And your subordinate says, well, and they become condescending and become sarcastic too, because you guys are now going back and forth when it was supposed to be good in the first place. What would you do, right? What would you do if that's the case right now? What would you do in this situation if you were the boss, right? You're not going to just fire them, right? If you fire enough people like that, you will be fired, right? That's the way it works. If you fire enough people just because you're reacting to every time they say something wrong or they were sarcastic, you'll be fired. You're required in today's corporate world, even in today's corporate world, to listen in closely, closer, emotional intelligence, and say, wait, what do you mean? Why did you say that? Right? Why? Because why are you being patient suddenly? Because there's a paycheck on Friday. Now you have to practice some patience because you know you can't overreact. Well, you can, but if you fire enough people because you're overreacting, you will be fired, right? Because it costs money to hire those people. Yes, even when there's paycheck. How much more when there's no paycheck on Friday? This is your wife now. Now she's playing equal with you. Why? Because you were playing equal with her. Everything you bring to a woman, I know this sounds spiritual so much and it's hard to comprehend it. Everything she's the incubator, not you. You bring the seed. You have unlimited 20 million seeds in your sacks. You bring that, but she receives it, incubator, receives it, multiply it, and return it right back to you. You can't win that game of playing equality with women. You can't. It's not gonna work. Okay? And that's you buying into it, in spite of the fact that earlier on you said God, me. And somehow your actions is disconnected from the idea of God, me. Because if it's God, me, you will listen a little bit closer and you will control your emotions. Listen, everything I'm saying is easier said than done. It's very, very hard. Women will test you. Okay? They will. It's much more harder than I sound right now. But it gets better. It gets easier with time. Okay? And I'm talking about engaging your power. So just attach that meaning to what I'm saying. Okay, this is not you becoming disempowered. This is not you being emasculated. If you feel emasculated, congratulations, you're right. Exactly. You're playing it out right in front of your face. Okay.
To learn how to talk to women. Cheers.
How to talk.
And then I will pay for you to have a session too, to learn how to talk to women.
That feeling is going to multiply on your end. She responded to you. He's angry, she's smiling because she will multiply it. Don't play that game with your women. That's not where your power is. Your power is in your ability to control yourself emotionally if you can engage that power.
Cheers.
Dr. Ken said that you do zingers and
We're talking about what Dr. Ken said?
I mean, that's what
They are doing tit for tat now. Tit for tat don't work out well, right? Are you still surprised that they end up in divorce court if you assume they've done this a few times, even without the cameras? Imagine what they do without the cameras.
Dr. King called you a maniac.
A maniac? Do you know what the definition of
Dr. King called him a maniac.
a maniac is? Nobody that's a maniac is this successful. Have you looked at
So now he's talking about himself. I'm stopping it because I don't want them to flag the video. I'm responding within fair use guidelines. Okay. Yeah, they're not compete. They're actively competing with each
I
other.
got degrees on my wall. Go and take a look at the word maniac.
Well, I love a good Google. A person exhibiting extreme symptoms of wild behavior, a homicidal maniac.
Wow.
The marriage counselor just uses extreme words, and it's something that people on the East Coast do, and
it's
they
an
have
East
a
Coast
tendency.
thing?
But for you to go and try to repeat what he says,
You repeated what you said about me. You have
Hold
maniac
on, Beauty.
tendencies.
Hold
Okay,
on a
maybe
second.
let me say
Hold on,
that.
hold on a second.
Let me say maniac
Don't
tendencies.
touch me.
Why are you getting mad at me for that?
It means somebody.
He said, "Don't touch me."
Maybe let me say.
He says.
You repeated what you said about me. You have maniac tendencies. Okay, maybe let me say that.
He has his fingers up. Let's look at the body language. I paid my money. I brought you out roses everywhere, right? Wine. And I have my fingers up. Gentlemen, don't do that. Okay? If it's still that tense, make sure you sort through the issues first. Okay? And make sure you're able to manage your emotions well before you do this. He did what he said he had stopped doing, which is he's trying to be a fixer, rose petals, all this type of things. He was trying to be a fixer, but then he's not ready. It's not ready. All right, so that's the game. Don't premature apologies, premature dates. If you know you've created a damage, right? Listen, the distance makes the heart fonder. Back off small now. Just back off. You need it. She needs space. No, you need space too. You need space. Back off. Let things simmer, right? Make sure that she's in the space where she's reminiscing about the good old times, and then, voila. Actually, let me take you out tomorrow. Yeah, I'm taking you out tomorrow. What happened? I don't know. I'm taking you out tomorrow. In that space, you're not going to be having this kind of conversation on the date. You know? You have to be very, 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 very careful. Have to be very, very careful. This is easier said than done. It's not an exact science. It's more of an art. So you have to feel. It depends on your particular partner. It depends on what's going on in your particular situations. But I'm speaking in a little generalized terms here. You know, just make sure that, you know, if you're going to stretch out ends of gestures, that is going to be received. You don't have to make sure. Just be reading it, right? That way, at least listen. You can't control other people. You can influence them. You can influence them with how you're reacting to crisis. If you have your fingers up like this already, and you have your mouth out like that, bruh. I don't care what culture you are in the world, this body language says a lot. It says a lot.
Let me say Maniac.
Don't touch me.
Why are you kidding
She said, don't touch. He said, don't touch me.
What Maniac even means? It means somebody that's truly unstable.
I apologize.
It's semantics.
Sorry.
Now she's
You
apologizing.
said about me. I said something you said about you.
You're not really. It means somebody that's truly unstable.
I apologize. I'm sorry. You said something he said about me. I said something.
You don't even understand what Maniac even means. It means somebody that's truly unstable.
I apologize. I'm sorry. You said something.
So she apologized. There's nothing wrong with the woman apologizing. There's nothing wrong with that. Right? How sustainable is this type of scenario playing out over time? That's the question I'm asking.
He said about me. I said something he said about you.
You're not
Tit for tat.
I really am sorry.
We're
But
playing
I'm just making sure
equality.
that we're both
Look at
here
all
and
the
understand
roses.
That we both have work to do.
How about you just try to?
We both have work to
Then
do.
express myself. If me express.
Do you not hear this all the time? You hear another way people say it is that, well, if only one side of the equation is working on it, could it work? Like, what do you mean? Don't let me push against that so fast. What do you mean? Are you looking for a simultaneous and then boom, we work on it and then marriage is successful? Again, you're playing the fairness game as opposed to engaging your power. When you engage your power, it's not about fairness. His balls belong to you. They're all yours for as long as you want them. If you don't want them, you don't want them. It is what it is. Okay? The same thing. She belongs to you, not to the streets, for as long as you want them. Right? Even if you have past transgressions. Yeah, she told herself she was going to leave. Listen, I'm not telling you that this needs to be backed by change behavior. So I'm not encouraging bad behavior. Okay? This needs to be backed by change behavior. Even if there were past transgressions. She's not just going to cut loose and be gone just like that. No, it's going to take a lot of work for you to rebuild trust back after betrayal. But it's doable. Easier said than done though. Just so you know, okay? Because you become defensive, you will start to quote Dr. King. This is what Dr. said you should have done to make a man feel heard a certain way. This is what Kevin Samuel said that a woman should just be held accountable to because she's an adult. You will start saying shit like that and you will push your wife further and further away. And the problem with that is not that you're pushing her further away. That's not the problem. The problem is that that's not what you want. That's not what you want.
Not be juju be that.
Expressing myself means we have a bad night. But what the hell are we doing?
You ready for dessert?
Nope. Nope. She's gone. 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 All right. Hopefully that helps. I think that was a good enough analysis. These are real life examples. This is not a movie. This wasn't scripted. A little bit because they were being filmed and they knew they were being filmed, but you can assume that it was worse than that. It would be worse than that if there was no cameras around. Okay, you can assume that they're being influenced by the society, social media. Everyone is celebrating divorce, so people think the grass is greener on the other side. And last, everybody might collect with
You collect woto.
So that was that. Adebusola, shout out to you. She said, why is he angry though? That she was questioning some of his stance on their issues. He's angry particularly because he doesn't have that level of self-control yet. He's not capable of that. He put himself there, and she's definitely not in that space where she can be feminine. She can't be feminine in that space. She can't be submissive in that space, right? Likewise, it's very hard for him to be masculine if he's going to continue to feel like, let me play equality. She should also, this is our, if you're doing that, that means you don't realize that you have power to influence your wife. And it's no wonder why you're creating the result you're creating. Again, like I said, easier said than done, but absolutely doable. This is the game, okay? You just have to know that. And it's okay to mess up too. You can mess up as long as you're aware that, oh, that was a mess up. I shouldn't have brought up that topic at the date. Well, next time. There's always an opportunity, right? As long as you're aware. But if you're arguing with your own destiny, no, a woman should... Then last, you go collect. Last, chop breakfast. Everybody could chop breakfast. It won't be too bad too if you chop another breakfast. To each their own, right? Really something deep was going on in their relationship. They're not friends. Absolutely. They you cannot throw me a curveball there because I watched them enough and they seem like they were friends. Okay, so gentlemen, whenever I tell you that you should be friends, that friendship is important, that cannot be substituted for your position. What he said himself, God, man, as in leader. Just because you're partners with your wife does not exonerate you from your leadership role. If you're married to a typical woman, even if she said, what I want is partnership, she expects you to be a leader. All right? I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking right now. Like, wait, what?
Not be juju be that.
I know. She expects you to be a leader. You might not say it becomes semantics, but that's not leadership, that's partnership. But this is what I'm asking. BS, okay? She expects you to lead them out of the funk. You can't be quick on a consistent basis to get caught up in your emotions. Could it work? It's not going to work. Not especially if there's been damages, particularly transgressions on your part. But even if you're clean, you're a good guy all the way, even you self go collect. Let me just tell you, you are required to maintain that position by way of your actions, not your mouth. Leadership, okay? And it's priority over if you're partners or friends. It's priority, okay? Everything, it's like the structure of everything that you're trying to build. We're talking about the structure. There's some things that are cute, right? They're cute. Oh, it'd be cute to be friends. I think friendship is core, personally. Depends on what you mean, by the way, because some people use that wrongly too. But I think that's core. But if we are talking about a typical relationship, a typical woman, man in this society, they were socialized with the same environment we're in, then in a sneaky way, they wanted partnership, but they want you to be a man too. Yeah, they might say it like that. They say, why can't you be a man? Right? They have different ways of saying it, but you get the gist, right? They're not friends. Yeah, they're definitely not friends right now. And, but the friendship I'm talking about is beyond any moment, right? I think the cry shows that there's a connection, but they were struggling. Okay? They were struggling there, right? But when a man leaves his position as the king, I'm more friendship to my falling poto. I'm telling you. Because it's not just women, it's not just men that crave that type of respect. Women crave that they want to they want to be able to respect their man. They want to be in a position where they're able to respect their man. The typical woman, they crave that. Like, I want to be with a person I can respect. So this need is not just one-sided. It's everywhere. The idea that I can respect my husband, right? So if they are struggling with that and they have a connection, even their friends, they break down into tears because it's quite confusing, right? To an average woman, an average woman. I think I now understand what she said about walking on eggshells. Yes, because she can't express herself. That's why I said, either you're a man or woman, especially if you're a man, give your partner the freedom to express their expectations. It's tough, it's hard, especially if they are really saying things that make you feel like you want to defend yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but if you can go through this exercise over and over, it becomes part and parcel of you. They start to feel heard. They start to feel safe and secure around you. And that person's balls belong to you. Okay? That's what I mean by engaging your power. Okay? I think fairness is cute when we talk about fairness. I don't think the world is a fair place. I think oftentimes when people are asking for fairness, they just want to gain power. They're confused. Oftentimes, not all the time. I think when we're trying to create policies where people, place of work in society, human rights, I think fairness is an absolute must. We must continue to engage that part of the conversation. But when it comes to politics and personal relationships or power dynamics, leave that thing outside and find your power. Because the other person is not stupid. They will overpower you. They will actively, indirectly, subconsciously try to overpower you. Sometimes they will be sarcastic, condescending. Okay. Sometimes they will be manipulative. Sometimes they will even give you crocodile teeth. It's power struggle. It's pride. It's pride. Okay. All right, that's all I have for you today. You would agree this was a masterclass. You know, I didn't prepare that it was going to be this way, but this news came out today, and it came out. Brother Patrick, you're there. Good to see you, sir. It's a good analysis, Ola. The guy still needs a long way to go. His understanding of marriage is unsustainable in a relationship. He needs help. I'm particularly concerned about the guy. The lady tried. She tried. Thank you, sir. But when the woman have to, she will apologize. If she has to be the one to be doing all this, it's not sustainable. She's a woman now. What do you want from her? Like, Jesus Christ. She's also going to get back home and try to breastfeed a whole human being. Bruh. Call it work. On your way out, let's call it a day today. Let's call it a day. Thank you. Shout out to you. Brother Patrick, please prepare ahead of, it's tomorrow Friday. I'm dropping the link. So if you have time, sir, so we can chop it up, you come up and we can have a conversation. Okay. It's tomorrow Friday. What are we today? What are we in today? Jesus Christ. I lost track of time. No, tomorrow is Thursday. Yes, but I'll drop the link tomorrow. Definitely Friday. So we can have a conversation. Okay. Shout out to you all. Shout out to all 14 of you left here watching me. I appreciate you. You're the true stars here. I appreciate you. And if you're watching this in replay too, make sure you say something in the comments so I can know you were here. I appreciate you as well. If you're watching this in replay, all my UK friends, they typically watch on the following day. So I appreciate you. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, D-Love. You're the best, D-Love. You're the best. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. I'll see you on the next one.